Hello and welcome back again. Same environment, different video. The third one I am reading today, and then I will be back on schedule and I will stop reading, at least for the video. Maybe I will do some light reading this weekend also while I'm relaxing with my friend. She is running a little bit late, but giving me the time to shoot another video and read some more. Then I've been reading for 3 videos, so 1.5 hours. I'm very proud of myself. That has to be said. Okay, I'm going to proceed where I left off. The primal spirit is beyond the polar differences. Here is the place whence heaven and earth derive their being. When students understand how to grasp the primal spirit, they overcome the polar opposites of light and darkness, and tarry no longer in the 3 worlds, but only he who has envisioned human nature's original face is able to do this. Unless you have been able to see your own inner nothingness, you will not be able to do this. First meditate and go into your nothingness, your inner nothingness. Then you will be able to enter into the nothingness of existence itself. When men are set free from the womb, the primal spirit dwells in the square inch. This is a Taoist map. Don't get puzzled. There are different maps of human consciousness. Different maps use different symbols. This is a Taoist map. Taoists say that after a child is born from the womb, the primal spirit starts dwelling in the 3rd eye. Between the 2 eyes, between the 2 exists the 3rd, exactly in the middle. What the yoga map calls Agya chakra. The 3rd eye center, that is what Taoists call the dwelling place of the primal spirit. The primal spirit dwells in the square inch, but the conscious spirit dwells below in the heart. But the conscious spirit dwells in the heart, the ordinary physical heart. This heart is dependent on the outside world. If a man does not eat for 1 day, it feels extremely uncomfortable. If it hears something terrifying, it throbs. If it hears something enraging, it stops. If it is faced with death, it becomes sad. And if it sees something beautiful, it's dazzled. But the heavenly heart in the head, that is the 3rd eye center. When would it have moved in at last, dost thou ask? Can the heavenly heart not move? Then I answer, how could the true thought in the square inch move? This physical heart is constantly dependent on the outside world. It is affected by the outside world. It is part of the outside world in you. This is not the true heart. Taoists say that the true heart is in the 3rd eye. It moves not. It is unmoving. It is always the same. The physical heart is always in chaos, and the spiritual heart in the 3rd eye is always in order. It is order itself. That's why Hindus have called it Ajna chakra. The center from which order arises. Discipline arises. If something comes from the 3rd eye, it is immediately followed. The whole body follows it. The whole being follows it. It is the center from which commandments are issued. But it is vast asleep. You live from the physical heart. You have not known your spiritual heart yet. The lower heart moves like a strong, powerful commander who despises the heavenly ruler because of his weakness. But the physical heart thinks that the spiritual heart is weak because it moves not. And because it moves not, you remain unaware of it. You only become aware of things when they move. If something remains absolutely unmoving, you become oblivious to it. And the lower heart thinks itself very strong and thinks the heavenly heart, the spiritual heart, as being weak, almost dead, because it moves not, and has usurped the leadership in affairs of state. And because of this, the lower heart has become the master of you. But when the primal castle can be fortified and defended, then it is as if a strong and wise ruler sat upon the throne. But if you start becoming more and more alert and more conscious, you will find that you have fortified the primal castle in the third eye. Whenever you become aware, you will be surprised. You start functioning from the third eye. Just become a little bit aware and you will see a little strain on the third eye. Whenever you become alert, the strain is more on the third eye. Something starts throbbing in the third eye. Something starts pulsating in this third eye. Once awareness has made the third eye function, once awareness has moved in the third eye and the third eye starts functioning, it becomes alive. That is why Hindus call it a chakra. Chakra means a wheel. The wheel needs energy. Once the energy comes in, the wheel starts moving. By movement, I mean that it starts functioning. Then a great revolution happens in your being. Immediately, the lower heart bows down to the higher heart. When the higher comes, the lower always bows down. It rules only when the higher is not present, and that is the difference between a real religion and an unreal religion. The unreal religion says to you, try to control yourself, control your senses, discipline your body. The real religion says, just go into the third eye center and let the spiritual heart function, and all will be controlled, all will be disciplined. Let the master arrive and everything will be settled immediately. The eyes start the light circulating like two ministers at the right and left who support the ruler with all their might. When rule in the center is thus in order, all those rebellious heroes will present themselves with lances reversed, ready to take orders. Just let the master come in, and there is no need to make any effort to create an order in your life. There is no need to cultivate character. That is why I say don't be worried about character. Simply put all your energy into being more conscious. Consciousness is followed by character, as you are followed by your shadow. If you try to cultivate a character, your character will be false, pseudo, and you will become a hypocrite. And this is not the way to reach to the ultimate. The way to the elixir of life knows these three as supreme magic. This is the supreme magic. Why call it magic? Because once the higher heart started functioning, it is as if magical miracles happen. Your senses were never in order. Your mind was always confused. You were always hesitating to do this or to do that, to be or not to be. You were in constant tension. Where to go, what to choose. Suddenly, as if somebody has performed a miracle, all confusion disappears. Clarity arises. Life becomes transparent. You simply do that which has to be done. In fact, once the heavenly heart has started functioning, all that you do is good. You cannot do wrong. It's impossible. The way to the elixir of life knows as supreme magic. And there are three constituents of this supreme magic: seed water, spirit fire, and thought earth. These are Taoist symbols. These three. What is seed water? It is the true one energy, Eros. Spirit fire is the light, Logos. And thought earth is intuition. You will have to understand these three. Seed water is Eros, the energy that you know as sexual energy, the energy of passion. Right now it creates only troubles for you and nothing else. Right now it is present. Right now it pretends to be your friend but proves to be your foe. The more you follow it, the more it takes you into miseries. That is why it is said that love is blind. Mullah Nasruddin was saying to me, love is blind and marriage is an eye-opener. Love is blind because you don't have eyes yet, and a great energy that could have become a great blessing to you becomes only misery. Eros is your energy, and Freud is right to seek and search for everything in your Eros, in your sexual energy. But he is wrong because he does not know that this ordinary state of sexual energy is not its natural state. It is a perverted state. In its natural state, sexual energy rises higher and higher. It takes you upwards, not downwards. In its natural state, sexual energy becomes the golden flower within you. In the so-called ordinary, perverted state, it simply takes you into new prisons, because it moves outward and downward. It dissipates you. It only brings you death, closer and closer. If the same energy starts moving upwards, it brings a new life. Life in abundance. It becomes the elixir of life. Just as the mud can become a lotus. The mud contains the lotus, the seed of it. So your sexual energy contains the seed of the golden flower, but the energy has to move upwards. You cannot move it upwards. There are people who try to make it move upwards. They become sexual perverts and nothing else. You cannot do it directly, but you can do it indirectly. Once your third eye, your spiritual heart, starts functioning, energy starts moving on its own accord. You have created the third eye, and the energy is attracted as if towards a magnet. Right now, your energy moves outwards because you have magnets outside, far greater than you have inside. You see a beautiful woman, and the energy starts moving outwards. The woman functions as a magnet. When your third eye functions, you have such a strong magnet that nobody can pull you outward. It is just a question of having a bigger magnet inside than that the one which exists on the outside is. Then the energy moves upwards, inwards. If you go outwards, you will move into the world of duality. If you go inward, you will move into the world of non-duality. You will become non-polar. This is exactly the foundation of what I call metaphysiologically, or the psychology of the Buddhas. This is pure religion, not the religion of the rituals, but pure religion, nothing to do with Christianity and Hinduism, but something to do with your energy source. The second is spirit fire. It is light, logos. It is conscious mind. Eros is moving upwards. It takes you beyond conscious and unconscious mind. Logos is conscious mind. It is psychology. It's science. Through earth, thought, earth, is darkness, unconsciousness, intuition. It is parapsychology, art. It is intuition, darkness. Women live in thought earth, in the intuitive vision. Women live as unconscious, illogical beings. Men live in spirit fire, logos, logic, conscious mind. Artists are feminine, scientists are masculine, and the seed water eros is a one energy. It is not dual. It takes you beyond art and beyond science. It takes you beyond the conscious and the unconscious. It takes you beyond man and beyond women. It takes you into a non-dual, the transcendental. But the secret of the magic is to let your heavenly heart, which exists between your two eyes, function. Later on, we will go into the methodology of it, how to help it function. Enough for today. Chapter 4. I mean business here. The first question, Osho, the river ultimately reaches the sea. The body goes, there remains only existence, the infinite. What, then, is this urge and the purpose of getting there now? Isn't it pushing the river? The problem is that man is not a river. Man is very much frozen. There is no flow in man's being. Man is like ice, not like water. If man is river, there is no need to push it. It will reach ultimately to the ocean. It has already reached. In that very flow, it has become part of the ocean. To be flowing is to be oceanic, but man is not flowing, hence the urge. The ice wants to melt, hence the effort. Once the ice has melted, then there is no need to push anything. Then everything happens of its own accord. Man has become a rock. And the reason why man has become a non-flowing rock is the mind. The body is perfectly flowing, so is the soul, but between the two, the link, the mind, is frozen ice. Once the mind goes deeper into meditation, it starts melting. That is what meditation is all about, an effort to melt the mind. You say the river is ultimately reaching the sea. That is true. But first become a river, you say. The body goes and there remains only existence, the infinite. True, but between the body and the soul, there is a mind clinging to you, or you clinging to it. The body goes, but you don't become the infinite because you are not only surrounded by a body. That is your physical limitation. There is a psychological limitation inside of it. Through the death of the body, mind will not die. It will take rebirth. It will move into another womb because it will carry so many desires which are to be fulfilled. It will again seek another womb, another body, with which to fulfill those desires. That is the very foundation of the theory of reincarnation. Mind desires, and if desires are there, then opportunities will arise, in which those desires will be fulfilled. God cooperates with you. If you have desires like a dog, you will become a dog. You will have the body of a dog. Your mind creates the blueprint and then the body follows. The body is a projection of the mind, not vice versa. Unless mind disappears completely, you will be born again and again. Once the mind is gone, then it is perfectly true. The body disappears, and you are the infinite. The fact, if the mind is not there, you are the infinite. without the disappearance of the body, without the death of the body. There is no need to wait for that. Buddha is infinite even when he is in the body, because he knows he is not the body. Buddha is infinite when he leaves the body. There is no difference for him. Living in the body or leaving the body is the same. You live in a house, but you don't think that you are the house. Exactly like that. An awakened consciousness lives in the body, uses the body, just as you use a car. You sit in the car, you drive the car, you know that you are not the car. You can get out of it at any moment. You need not wait for an accident to happen. When the car is destroyed, you feel that you are not the car. And if you don't know it, when the car is there and you are in it, how are you going to know it when the car is not there? The death of the body alone will not show you that you are infinite. Either you are infinitely in the here and now, or you will never be. Infinity is your nature. The real problem is not the body. The body is the culprit, as the so-called religions have been telling you. The body is the culprit. The body is not the culprit at all. The body is utterly innocent and beautiful. The culprit is the mind. The mind is the devil. You will have to dissolve the mind, hence the urge and the purpose of all the mythologies that have developed down the ages. Tao, Yoga, Tantra, Zen, Hasidism. Become a river, and then nothing is needed. That is what the secret of the golden flower says. Achieve inaction through action. Achieve effortlessness through effort. But first comes the effort, the action. It will melt you. And then the river starts flowing. And in that very flow, it has reached the ocean. The second question. Osho. I find it almost impossible to surrender the male ego. Instead, I become competitive, resistant, or frightened. Can you say something about this? The ego is neither male nor female. The ego is simply the ego. The one who becomes resistant to the male ego is the female ego. You are aware of the male ego. You are not aware of your own ego, who is resistant to surrender. Become more aware of your own ego, and then things will be easier. Everybody is aware of the ego of the other, but nothing can be done about the ego of the other. All that can be done is only with yourself. You say, I find it almost impossible to surrender the male ego. Who is this? Who finds it almost impossible? Find out. And then you will be surprised. Ego is ego. It is neither male nor female. Don't divide it. Egos have no sex, no gender. It is the same disease. If a woman has cancer, it is cancer. If a man has cancer, it is cancer. It is not male and female. Exactly like that is the ego, the cancer of the mind. And who is telling you to surrender the male ego? Surrender is never to the other. When two persons fall in love, both surrender to love. Nobody surrenders to the other. If there is an effort from the other that should surrender to him, avoid him. This is not love. Love never demands surrender. Surrender happens naturally in love. There is no demand for it. If the man demands surrender from you, from your side, he does not love you. Don't get entangled into such an unloving affair. He hates you, otherwise why should he demand surrender? He wants to possess you. He wants to reduce you to a thing. He wants to use you, exploit you. He thinks of you only as a body, as a mechanism. He does not respect you as a person, as a presence. This is humiliating. This is not love. Avoid it. But surrender happens when there's love, and nobody demands. Nobody surrenders to the other, neither the man to the woman, nor the woman to the man. They both surrender to the God of love. They both surrender to this new opening in their being. And when both surrender to love, there is beauty, there is freedom. You are not reduced to being a slave. In fact, only in love do you attain dignity. Only in love do you attain to your grandeur. Only in love is your splendor released. This is the indication of real love, that you become more than you were before, not less, and you are freer than you ever were. Love gives freedom. That is the very taste of love. If it is missing, if it is anti-freedom, then avoid it, as one avoids the plague. Don't get into it. It is something else, masquerading as love. But when love is there, you will find surrender has already happened. It is simultaneous. The moment you feel love for somebody, the surrender has happened. That is what love is, not surrender. Let me repeat again. To the other, but surrender to an unknown force that has taken possession of the two of you. But that is totally different from you and totally different from the other. You both have bowed down to an unknown energy. You become two pillars, separate from each other, still supporting the same roof. You support something that is beyond you, above you, transcends you, but you remain separate. Love makes you more of an individual. It does not efface your individuality. It gives you individuality. It gives you uniqueness. Love is very respectful. You say, I find it almost impossible to surrender the male ego. Instead, I become competitive, resistant, or frightened. These are the ways of the ego. The other may have the ego, may have not the ego. I don't know about the other. Who is that other? But one thing is certain. You have a very subtle ego. That ego becomes competitive. Ego is competitive. Intrinsically. Intrinsically competitive. The ego becomes resistant or frightened, and in fear, in the resistance, in the struggle, in the competitiveness, love is destroyed. One thing is certain, you have to become aware of your subtle egoistic approach towards life. Drop it. At least from your side, let it disappear, and then you will be surprised. Maybe the other was not demanding any surrender. It was just your ego that projected it on the other. If it is so, now you can surrender to love. If it is not so, and the other is still demanding, and you will be able to know rightly only when there is no resistance in you, when there is no fear in you, no competition in you, then you will have clarity. You will have transparency. You will be able to see through and through, and immediately you will know whether the other is demanding a surrender to him or the demand is coming from something which is beyond you both. If it is from beyond you both, surrender. If it is coming from the other, avoid it. That other person is mad. He needs all compassion. Pity him. But don't fall in love, because to fall in love with an egomaniac is dangerous. He will destroy you. This much you owe to yourself. I will end this half-hour reading with the final question and answer it next week when I read the next part. Here's the third question. Osho, you spoke of the silence one finds in the Himalaya. that is of the Himalayas, borrowed, and it will leave when one returns to the marketplace. Is this true of the silence? Am I finding in your presence this silence? Is this borrowed? Will it disappear when I leave from here? Thank you again for listening. My next video will be in a different surrounding, and I actually have to admit that I enjoyed reading for 1.5 hours. My eyes got a little bit tired and I feel like I have really read a lot today, but I kind of enjoy it. Shh, don't tell anybody. Thank you and see you again in the next video.